Hey buddy, this is how I installed my bulkhead fitting on the 2018 Goldwing. Um, so right here, excuse the mess here, I've got all the wires set aside so I can show you, but I've got it just for reference. Here's the bike. The front of the bike is here and the rear of the bike is here. And I've got, I'm on the left rear of the tank. Is where I put my bulkhead fitting, and you can see the Seal washer right there, and you can see how the bulkhead fitting comes up, and it's at a 90 degree, and it's shaved off. The bulkhead fitting is shaved off down in the tank. Ernie did that, and it's a real low profile inside the tank. But you can see the bulkhead fitting comes up at a 90, and then I've got another 90-degree elbow here with the fuel line running up and inside. I'll try to get you a little bit better video of it. You might be able to see it. It actually runs up here and then comes out the side and then up into the tank that way. But but in order to drill it, it's not that hard. I would practice before I did it, before I actually punched the final hole. But to get that fuel pump ring off, you can see that it's just a ring, and there's a lip right here that these dogs go over. And so what you've got to do is you've got to just tap this ring off. And I just used a large flathead screwdriver and put it in the ring, and then just tapped it lightly to get it off. Now, be careful when you're tapping though, because I did get the flathead part of the screwdriver into the fuel cell, and thankfully I didn't go very deep until I realized, hey, what I was doing. But I was about to punch a hole in the tank with the screwdriver, so just be careful. That right there is what I did. You're going to want to make sure that this fuel tank is empty before you take it off, or at least, very close to empty. Because all the fuel, if it's half full, you take this ring off and you bust the seal, not bust it, but you break the seal of the O-ring right here between the fuel cell cap, the fuel pump cap and the fuel cell. Then fuel will just gush right out. But anyway, to drill it, I put my Seal washer there. I knew kind of where I wanted it, and before you take the ring off, you can see about how close I got it to the washer. And here's the back corner of the tank, or the edge of the tank. But what I did was I just put that washer down there and put me a Sharpie line all around the washer, around the circumference of the washer, so that I could tell exactly where I wanted to put the bulkhead fitting, so it wouldn't interfere with this ring when I went to put it back on. And so I put it down there. I drew my circle around the washer, and then tapped the ring off and remove the fuel pump. And then, of course, I went ahead, and I was just ultra conservative. I went ahead and just got all the rest. I used a hand pump and got all the rest of the fuel out of the tank, and then got I used a couple of hand towels and just sopped it up, and it was completely dry when I did the install. Now, as far as drilling that's what gives most people heartburn, and I was pretty nervous about it too. So what I did was I just I took my caliper, and this isn't a bulkhead fitting. I mean, this is similar to the bottom part of a bulkhead fitting that you would see, and I just used my my caliper, and I measured the width of the bulkhead fitting, and then I got a step down drill. Let me see if I can turn a light on here so you can see a little bit better. Just the step down drill, and I found on the step down drill the measurement. I don't know if you can see it, but you've used one of these before. And I just taped off where I felt like the bulkhead fitting and the caliper measurement told me was the right width. And then I just took a bucket lid, I got this at Lowe's, 99 cents, $1.99, something like that. And you can see I just made a whole bunch of practice drills and punches with it. And then after I would drill into it, I'd grab my bulkhead fitting and put it in the hole just to see if it fit. And whatever the tight, I wanted it as tight as I could. So as soon as I drilled it enough to make sure that it was as tight as the bulkhead fitting was, going in, just make sure it was nice and tight. That actually does not fit, but there you go. Just make sure it fit nice and tight. Then I would adjust the tape on my step down drill. And then it was time to drill the actual tank. So what I did was back here, right in the middle of the circle that I had drawn on the tank itself with the Sharpie, I just drilled a real small pilot hole, just a real tiny pilot hole, just to get me started so that my step down drill bit wouldn't wander. Because I wanted it to be precise. Now, when I drilled, I actually had my hand inside the fuel cell, and I had just a small disposable cup in there just to catch any plastic shavings that were to fall down into the tank. Because I didn't want any remnants of plastic down in there when I was drilling it. So I drilled my my pilot hole. And then I took my step down drill bit and I just started easing that drill bit down into the fuel cell itself until I got to just above or just prior to where my tape was. So like if my tape was where it is here, I stopped right here and then checked the fitting, try to put the bulkhead fitting down in there to see if it would fit yet. And if it didn't, and then I would go ahead and drill on down a little bit more, still not quite hitting that tape, because you can make a hole bigger, but you can't make it smaller. So I didn't want to go past the size of that bulkhead fitting. So as I got really close with that tape, I would start check fitting that bulkhead fitting to make sure it was okay. And then once it was, of course, I'd stop drilling. And then I took just an X-Acto knife or a box cutter knife, just the blade, and got on the inside of the fuel cell and deburred it. I just ran my finger around in there, feeling for any kind of burrs to make sure there was nothing in there that could create a gap in the seal. And then at that point, I put my seal on there, or I put my bulkhead fitting with the status seal on, the external status seal on, and then I went underneath and I put the status seal and the nut on the inside of the bulkhead fitting. And before I cinched it down and made it permanent, I went ahead and attached my line and my hose and went ahead and tightened it down, because before you tighten this down, you want to make sure you get the angle right for where your fuel line is going to go. Because if I had angled it more back this way, then I never would have gotten this 90-degree fitting right here past this wiring harness. Or if I had turned the fitting more back this way, then this wiring harness right here would have kept this fuel line from fitting properly. Okay, so make sure, and you might even want to go ahead and just connect everything before you tighten it down. That way you've got it in place. But make sure you can also remove this if you should have to. I mean, I don't know why you would have to, but anyway, once you make sure that this angle is correct, then just go ahead and tighten it down. Now I found that on my socket driver, I needed to get one of these knuckles right here. Now you may have one, I don't know, but it's down inside the fuel cell. It's kind of a tight fit. And I couldn't quite get in there, so I just went up to Ace Hardware, and I bought a U-joint here, a little knuckle to go on my socket driver, and that made it easier to get in there and get an angle on it. And once I tightened it down, I mean, it's in place. It's not going anywhere. I elected not to use any kind of Loctite or anything like that. There's opinions back and forth. Of course, if you decide you want to use some kind of a Loctite or anything, it makes sure it's got to be okay and approved for use in a gas environment. I just didn't want to I didn't want to mess with that, and so some of the guys that have been doing this a whole lot longer than me have said no, and even Warchild said, even if as long as you get it on there nice and tight, it's not going anywhere. And I tend to agree, and I think that seal has everything. That seal washer right there has everything to do with holding it in place. But that's all I did, and then you put your fuel cell back on, and take note of where there should be some factory white markings here. Take note of where those markings are before you take it off, so you can get this ring back about where they want it. And then you just tap it back in place, going the opposite direction that you did to take it off. And this time you're actually going to be hammering it this way and turning it, I believe, clockwise this time to get it to lock in. But again, and that's where I think I screwed up, and I about dug into my fuel cell there. So don't do that. But that's it. That's how I installed it. And my system is just a gravity fed system. There is no fuel pump. The fuel line, I don't know if you can see it, but the fuel line comes out of the bulkhead fitting, and it comes up the line here, and you might be able to trace the braided hose. You might be able to see that braided hose. I lost it. Where is it? Anyway, it comes up here, and then there you can see, actually, okay, it goes inside the frame right here. There it is. So it comes up out of the fuel area, and then it goes on the inside of the frame here. There's a break in the assembly of the bike there, the frame of the bike, chassis of the bike, and then the fuel line comes up like this, and then it's going to be real hard to see, but that's where I popped in, and you can see just on the top of the frame right here how it exits the bike right there. Just to finish up and show you how I've got it here, the fuel line coming up out of here, and then I actually, on your plate right here, yours is the aluminum deck right here, I just took some weldable steel, and I just bent it down, and I popped me a couple of holes in your plate, and I made a brace for this fuel line. Of course, I painted it so it wouldn't rust, but I got the fuel line coming out here, and then it comes around, and here is a fuel filter. I do recommend putting a filter in there just in case there's anything that you don't want coming through the aux tank, that may fall in there, whatever. But I've got a it's kind of hard to hold this light and show you, but I've got that fuel filter there, and then there's a quick disconnect right here, and here is moving on here to the left. There's another bracket that I created, and I've got just a bulkhead fitting right here to hold this bracket. That's actually another bulkhead fitting that I just put in to hold this bracket, and it ties into these legs right here, these mount brackets that you've made. And then of course here's my fuel shutoff valve right here, and moving on up the line, it just 90s into the front left of the fuel cell that you built. So you can see that when the fuel comes out and as it goes down the line, it's always a downhill slope. there is no uphill to my line at all. And because of that, and I don't make too many turns, there's only two 90-degree turns, one right here, well, three, I guess, one right here, and then another one into the bulkhead fitting. It actually it transfers quickly. It's like about an 8-minute transfer from the time you turn it on until the OEM tank is completely full again. But there's your rig right here. It's the finalized version of your rig with your fuel cell here and your top plate. And then I went ahead and just drilled into your top plate and put these spacers. And in this yellow box, this yellow Pelican box, is where I keep my my rally flag and my other things that I might not need to get to, like my camera and my where I write down my my bonuses and that kind of thing. I keep a flashlight in here just in case I need to get it quickly. And then also on the back of your deck right here, I put a quick release. I think this is, I forget who this is made by. But anyway, all I've got to do is quick release that, and then I can push that Pelican case forward, boop, and it comes right out. There's some pucks under there that hold it. And then I can take it into the hotel with me at night if I want to. But then at night, then in the morning, I can just come in, put it down, lock it down, and I'm on my way. But overall, that's it. Love the setup. And then over here, I've got the vent tube going, of course, like you've got it routed here, like you built it here. And then I went ahead, it was told to me by some veterans that you need a fuel filter here to guard road grime from making its way up the exhaust and into your puke tank. Of course, it probably wouldn't matter in the puke tanks. It's just not going actually into the main tank. But, you know, I want to protect it as best I can. So I've got a fuel line here, and it allows venting to go out, but it doesn't allow any road grime or anything like that to come out. And then, of course, the line goes down here. I've got a couple zip ties holding it in place, and then run it down. The IBR wants to see it. The vent line going, you know, staying away from the exhaust. You don't want it to get anywhere close to the exhaust, just in case there's, I don't know, I guess it's a fire risk or whatever. But and then they want it away from the rear tire, behind the rear tire, for obvious reasons. You don't want any overflow going in front of the tire. But then you also want it to extend a couple inches below the rear fender, just to get it out of the way. That's what they're looking for. But anyway, that's how I've got yours set up, and that's how I drilled the fuel cell. It's not hard. Just take your time. The biggest thing for me was I just practiced on this bucket lid several times just to make sure that, you know, I didn't screw it up. And then once you do it, cinch it down nice and tight, you're good to go.